आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। नगर नगर ये ग्राम और ये गलियारे, भरने इनमें नव जीवन के उजियारे। नगर नगर ये ग्राम और ये गलियारे, भरने इनमें नव जीवन के उजियारे। बार बार हम दोहराते हैं यही कसम, यही कसम, यही कसम। आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। हमें हटाना घर घर से अंधियारा है, हमें तोड़नी पाखंडों की कारा है। हमें हटाना घर घर से अंधियारा है, हमें तोड़नी पाखंडों की कारा है। सच को कहने वाली चलती रहे कलम, चलती रहे कलम। आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। कदम मिलाकर नर नारी सब और बढ़े, ज्ञान और विज्ञान नए सोपान चढ़े। कदम मिलाकर नर नारी सब और बढ़े, ज्ञान और विज्ञान नए सोपान चढ़े। देना है संदेश यही हमको हरदम, यही हमको हरदम। आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम।
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be associated with this wonderfully curated orientation program for students and practitioners of PR and advertising industry. I am thankful to Pathak sir for inviting me to deliver today's lecture. And I hope my learnings as a media educator and as a practitioner will be of use to some of you. Um, the idea is to look at different aspects of PR and advertising and how we can better engage with the communication processes that are involved. Um, as we talk about advertising appeals today, we must understand how powerful this industry is and also have, PR as part of this overall context. The reliance of effective advertising upon, you know, the most suitable and impactful creative strategy cannot be stressed enough. Um, in any kind of an advertisement or even in brand communication as a student of PR and advertising. Let me share the presentation. At the very outset, when we look at advertising as a process, so we understand it as a paid form of communication, and that's more of determined by way of how we deliver it to the audiences, the kind of media that is used, which has to have that broader sense of reach, and also um, the the sponsor or the advertiser being there as part of the entire process, being identified, and you also have to know that this is a non-personal kind of a communication, which is why it makes it, have a mass appeal. So any sort of communication which is part of advertising or part of PR has to have that appeal, considering the audiences. Um, and it serves a lot of purposes. It helps build better brands. It helps create an awareness about the products, the services, or the company itself. Um, you know, Demand is created when there is, an awareness about a particular product, and automatically it leads to a certain level of demand. And there's a healthy competition. The products keep coming into the market, the newer brands are developed and conceived, as well as looking at how it, kind of extends or expands the consumer base. Um, all of these are some of the technical and some of the professional requirements of this particular field. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about a field which is ever so growing, which is, extending its scope all around. And we need to see that over the last couple of years, though, uh, there has been a collapse of the sorts in different sectors. Interestingly, in case of PR and advertising, there has been a sense of cushioning, um, which maybe has been there because of the digital media, because of what social media had to offer, and how it was able to extend the scope of this industry, uh, particularly during last year, and also create possibilities for practitioners and for students who are involved. We've seen global spending has increased. We've seen the number of digital publics has increased. The users and so social media, or the SNSs, that has increased, and we see a promise not just globally, but also in case of India. So here we go. We look at the statistics of last year and projection for another year, and we see that there is an expected rise in the industry when it comes to um, advertising in India. And looking at the ad media which is used, it also kind of gives us a newer dimension about how we can read this industry, how we can understand the field, and where lies the scope. So when we shift our focus to the existing media distribution in India, we see that there's a lot of scope in futuristic media in India, but television still contributes significantly as the preferred option for any sort of brand communication. So while we are designing our campaigns, while we are conceiving an ad strategy, media planning and media scheduling is one of the primary indicators for the success of any sort of a campaign. So that needs to be realized, and it's also to be understood that there is a scope for good content. There's a scope for quality content, because even in terms of television ads, um, a lot of users venture into digital media in order to witness the content that was aired on television. Um, So the rise in social media publics or digital publics per se gives us an indication that other media forms which offer their content even on digital platforms do, get benefited from this rise. And talking about content, talking about online ad targeting, there is still a lot of scope in terms of how research has been used, how uh, you know, um, how we understand the need to leverage the behavioral data on audiences. What do they expect? What are their preferred choices when it comes to products? How do we understand their needs? How do they optimize their requirements and their wants through products that we have to offer to them? All this has to be kept at the core of a creative ad strategy, and also cater to in terms of appeals that are used, for example, in advertising. Because the desire to have content, desire amongst audiences to engage with brand content is there for sure. And then we know that the more they engage with the content, the better it is for brands, products, and overall advertising. Now, if we understand the phenomenon of effectiveness of advertising, there are these key um, parts of the process which are involved. And it begins with the aha moment. It begins with an idea that that completely falls in consonance with what the ad objectives are. So the central idea, the main idea, that the key theme that is there around which your entire campaign will revolve. Then you have the creative strategy, it's the logic, it's the entire plan that goes into maybe your ad copy and the overall, creation of a campaign or an ad. And of course, the media, choice of media, whether you go for a media mix or whether you, decide to go for maybe just the online media, and the scheduling as well. And last step is how you execute the plan. You have everything in blueprint, you have everything right there. How do you execute it? How do you make it happen? How do you deliver what you have been, producing? And now, part of the this entire process are advertising appeals. Um, if we try and recall some of the advertisements that that stick around, that we remember, um, what makes them so memorable? Is it only about the product advertised, or is it how the product was maybe delivered to us, or the message around that product was being advertised, uh, that makes it more memorable? And we must understand that the goal of an advertisement is to appreciate a customer at the end of the day. And the advertising appeals do just that. They provide that necessary hook to the audiences. And these are the devices for executing your ad strategy, your creative strategy, for presenting, for delivering, for acting as a carrier for the idea that was, conceived. Um, these are, the persuasive techniques, or the tools for persuasion in advertising, which titillate a customer, which stimulate an audience member towards maybe creating a desirability for your product, or maybe eventually going out and buying it. And the audience's needs, interests, and wants have to be catered to while you choose an appeal. So must be adapted to audience values. There has to be an overlap. There has to be, a synchronization between the process that we engage in as practitioners or as advertisers, and also the, customers, how they perceive your campaign at the end of the day. They have to understand. They have to decipher the message in exactly the same manner that you want them to, so that the brand image is impacted in a good way, so that you are able to create a goodwill. It's very crucial that you choose the best possible device, that you choose the best possible appeal that fits into the framework of your overall campaign. So we can safely say it's the theme of an advertisement. And what do these appeals do? They kind of help us talk to the audiences. They help us convince them about our product. They help our audiences get attracted to the advertisement in the first place. So it's an approach that we use to direct their attention towards the advertisement. It's to create a positive reference to the product. Every time they remember the ad message or the appeal that was used in the advertisements, would help them remember the product in a better manner, in a positive way, and also influence their feelings, the customer attitudes about the product. Um, and eventually, if they decide to buy the product, that would also be driven to a great extent by an advertising appeal, because they feel that the way to satisfy a particular need, or the way to uh, cater to a desire that they have for a particular product or a sector of products or services, would be fulfilled only through this particular product that you're offering to them. And when they look at your advertisement, they must feel good about the choice that they are going to make. So in a way, advertising appeals help consumers, help your target audience believe in themselves. You have to convince them that howsoever they have reached to a point wherein they are deciding to buy this product, it's all in a good, it's all going in a good positive manner, and it's all in sync with their idea of how the thing should be. So this kind of driving power is provided by advertising appeals, and they are at any step of the decision making of purchase, um, wherever the consumer sees himself, whether he's trying to shortlist certain brands, or he is or she is trying to eventually go and purchase something, the appeals always play a role, even in case of decision making, when they have they just start exploring something to an evaluative stage later on. They're there. If you try and understand the types, there are various types which are there, which have been identified. Um, Kotler, for example, divides these advertising appeals into two basic categories: rational appeal and emotional appeal. And it's like these two appeals will cater to almost all the demands and needs of an audience member. And generally, these are the two appeals that are predominantly or overwhelmingly present in the advertisements, which have been used in order to attempt to influence consumer behavior, consumer attitude towards your brands. We also kind of fall back on Aristotelian concept of rhetoric, where he has identified three key argumentative appeals, which revolve around logos, or logic, pathos, to do with emotions, and then ethos, or sense of right and wrong, ethics. And audiences have to be at the very core of this entire process. Whichever appeal is being used, howsoever the creative strategy is being devised, the audiences and various kinds of investigations into what their requirements are. How are you going to reach out to them? Whether it's the psychographic analysis, or whether it's the demographic research, or any kind of information that we're able to gather about audiences, will always help us go back and base our understanding while we are working in the process of advertising. So it will always feed into this process, the creative process in particular. To begin with, the first appeal that we're talking about is to do with emotions, to do with human feelings. And it has been seen that when you try and arouse emotions within a human being, it is a better way to kind of mediate the process of advertising. And there are individual emotions that could be targeted, or there could be some social feelings or social appeals that could be used. And they will definitely have a nuanced kind of an approach while they're being used in the advertisements. What do these appeals do? They try and establish a bond between the consumers and your product or your brand. There's a linkage that is attempted by way of emotional appeals, and different sorts of appeals are used in advertising that help an individual relate to your process. There are examples from your own life that would be used, or some some reference to events and happenings and emotions that they can relate to easily, because it's all a human kind of a bond that is attempted there. You appeal to their sense of beauty, you appeal to their sense of human bonding, you appeal to nostalgia, to fear, to humor, or basic emotions like happiness or sorrow. And advertising makes use of both negative and positive emotions. And some of the most prominently used emotions are love, romance, humor, happiness, even fear. So these are some of the most used emotions while drafting an advertising message. And it is a very powerful tool. It's a very powerful device that one could use in order to convince an audience member that the product that is being offered or showcased is going to fulfill the kind of need that they see in their lives. So, human beings, being the emotional creatures that they are able to convincingly follow the cue that you provide them through your advertising. And if you're able to base it along with logical arguments, then the emotional appeal becomes all the more strong. In case of emotional appeal, in case of pathos, a very strong sense of visual communication is, utilized, and that could be in terms of the narrative. It could be in terms of the colors that are used, the dialogues or the headlines that are part of the ad copy. Or also at times you have a very semiotic kind of depiction of things. These are some of the advertisements that kind of revolve around emotional appeal. And if you look at both these advertisements, they have a contrasting representation of emotions, but equally impactful in their own way. We can look at an advertisement. It's an ad from Viva.
अच्छा सुन, तुझे कितने मिले? 78. मैकेनिक्स में कितना मिला तुझे? 89. मैं सेट हूँ. इनफ यार, बस करो ये इंजीनियरिंग टॉक्स.
क्यों भाई, क्या चल रहा है भाई बहनों में? हाँ?
बस यूजुअल फूफा जी. आप बताइए कैसे हैं आप?
सब बढ़िया बेटे, बढ़िया. क्यों श्याम बाबू, पढ़ाई कैसे चल रही तुम्हारी?
बस बढ़िया फूफा जी. पिछले सेमेस्टर्स तो काफी अच्छे रहे. अब फाइनल्स के रिजल्ट का इंतजार हो रहा है. अब मार्क्स अच्छे तो फिर कुछ टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज में मास्टर्स के लिए अप्लाई कर दूंगा. फिलहाल तो यही प्लान.
अच्छा प्लान है, अच्छा प्लान है. लेकिन बेटा इतना पढ़ लिख कर करोगे क्या? आगे चलकर सेटल होकर घर ही तो संभालना है तुमने.
और लगाना हमें भी लगता है.
So there was a mix of certain emotions that were depicted there. You could see a bit of humor, you could see a bit of wit, you could see a sense of pride towards the end. So all of these kind of reinforce the message that this company is trying to present. They are trying to redefine certain concept. And if you look at other ads which are part of this particular campaign, they've done the same with body image, with age, with gender. So all of those concepts are being redefined and reimagined to this particular campaign. When we talk about humor, it's also, as I said earlier, it's one of the most used appeals in advertising. It's regarded as one of the most excellent appeals, in fact, because for getting attention of your customers, humor acts like a a magical tool. It creates a sense of complete attention from the audiences, and they'd stop and watch or maybe laugh at what you're trying to communicate. And the kind of links that humor creates between the company or between the brand and consumers is also very significant. A well executed humor appeal enhances recollection, evaluation, and also the intent to purchase the product. There's a certain feel good factor that comes up along with humor appeal, but that has to be used in a manner which seems quite effortless and quite relatable. So these are some of the you can look at few of these ads which depict that humor appeal, and then we have the idea of love or belongingness that is used in advertisements. Um, and that's also a very strong emotion or a very strong appeal that we often see in products related to um, you know social connections, to togetherness, maybe affection, or at times we see ads that revolve around festivals or those special days, like for example, wedding seasons or Valentine's Day. All of these categories do bank upon love as an emotional appeal. There is an ad, so we can watch that ad.
क्यों रुकवा दी? स्कूल बस भी तो यहीं रुकती थी, याद है? किधर जा रही है? अरे वो तो गुप्ता अंकल का घर है। मजे पूरे लूटेंगे। मरवाई थी तू? छुट्टे पड़ेगा तुझे। आवाज लगा। मम्मी। मम्मी। मम्मी भूख लगी है। अरे तुम दोनों? मम्मी भूख लगी है। हॉस्टल से कैसे हैं? मम्मी भूख लगी। निकाल दिया क्या? मम्मी भूख लगी है। छोड़ो ना मम्मी। तुम दोनों मिले कहाँ? मम्मी भूख लगी है। मम्मी बस बोल देना 2 मिनट। बस 2 मिनट। चल प्लेट लगा। तू लगा। तू लगा। क्या प्लेट हमेशा मैं ही क्यों लगाता हूँ? अरे टैक्सी के पैसे किसने दिए? मैगी किसने खरीदा? मैंने। तेरी मेरी याद जगाए मम्मी मम्मी फिर चिल्लाए घर के बुद्धू घर को आए मैगी मैगी मैगी। Nestle, good food, good life.
So, a mix of a lot of emotions, a lot of, a lot of connections with nostalgia, for example, the childhood memories. A lot of these things are very common, very usual with kids. And so, the target audience most probably will relate to what they're trying to say. The curiosity or the subtle anger in mom. She wasn't angry per se, but there was a sense of curiosity in her, or mischief in the two kids, and then there's pride and confidence in the daughter, and the younger sibling gets to experience what most of the times we also experience as younger siblings, or the other side of it. Another emotional appeal that is there is the fear. And we see fear being used in a big way in advertising, whether that's, related to commercial products or it's related to, public service ads. So fear is used, or even in case of infomercials, for example. A lot of times we do see that the sense of fear or a sense of loss is, it's kind of pricked in order to get somebody into acting the way you want them to act. So all of these examples do tell us about how fear is used. It kind of focuses on the negative outcomes that may happen as a result of your action or inaction. Action, maybe in cases like smoking or drink and drive, in such cases, your action will lead to something which you would not be happy about, or inaction. Suppose you don't do anything about your hair loss, or you don't do anything about the dandruff. So you're going to have, you're going to face some really difficult time in future. So that time, the fear appeal comes into play, and it's used frequently for products ranging from insurance to home security systems, or even to hair oils, hair conditioners, hair products. Advertisers generally use fear appeal to promote an immediate behavioral change, such as eating healthier, changing lifestyle, taking those smaller steps to change your lifestyle. An ad prepared by BMW aimed, to increase consciousness for negative possible consequences of driving after alcohol consumption. And they did it by creating a sense of fear, by showing what can happen. Another fear tactic involves isolation, the social isolation that people might generally fear. So people will go and purchase a product to avoid being excluded by others, to avoid being ostracized, or left alone from that, or FOMO, avoiding that. And it's important that a moderate level of fear is used, because that's the most effective tactic. That is because a low level of fear might not be noticed, it might just go unnoticed, and a too strong sense of fear may backfire to the extent that audiences may not even watch your commercial. They may not even like to watch it. They'd be so fearful, and they would maybe be filled with disgust that they would not even want to watch it. So the moderation is the key here, to create a sense, to create a bit of anxiety, and they take some kind of action. We do have an ad here.
Hey, look who's here. Miss Amazing है.
हाँ, पर ये ऐसे ही मिस अमेजिंग है नहीं बनी.
फिर?
अरे तुम्हें क्या पता, जब इसका हेयर फॉल शुरू हुआ पहले इंटरनेट पे सर्च किया,
अच्छा?
कई शैम्पूज भी ट्राई किए, फिर नीता आंटी के नुस्खे भी आजमाए, फाइनली परेशान होकर बाल भी कटवा दिए. फिर मेरी लाइफ में आई मेरी BFF
यानी बालों का फेवरेट फ्रेंड, हिमालय एंटी हेयर फॉल शैम्पू, हेयर फॉल का सही सोल्यूशन. इसमें है गुडनेस ऑफ भृंगराज, जो बालों को गिरने से बचाकर उनको मजबूत और घना बनाए. हिमालय एंटी हेयर फॉल शैम्पू, हेल्दी हेयर का वादा.
The second type of ad appeal, or the logical appeal, or the rational appeals, and this is where the mind comes into play. This is where the usage of logic is emphasized. The kind of claims that are made, there's an evidence to that. And you're appealing to the sense of rational decision making. You're trying to convince an audience member about a certain point, not using emotions, but by using logic and by using rational thinking. The usual aim in these particular advertisements would be to focus on the utility aspect, to look at the specifications, the functions of a particular product or the service that you're offering to them. You mentioned the practical benefits. You look at how things work. It's more informative. There's a detailed journey that's provided into the product experience, and you emphasize the characteristic features of that particular product. And there are certain genres or certain segments of products where rational appeal really works well. For example, in terms of cars. So you can see the details that are available there, and you need these specifications in order to make a purchase for a car. You would not just rely on the feel good factor, or you not just rely on, oh, how I like a particular car by way of, the emotional connection that I feel with the color. No, it will not happen. That this decision has to be really rational, and you must be able to locate the benefits of buying. Um, it's significant also in case of complex products, for example, insurance, for example, mutual funds, for example, all the financial portfolio that you may want to invest in. There, in order to simplify the complexity of that particular genre, you would want more details, and rational appeal provides you with all of that. Price could also be used to attract attention. Maybe there's a price drop, or there is a clear cut, sale that's there, and you see that there is a definite, scope for benefiting from this particular sale advertising that is happening. So you might just want to go ahead with that and make a purchase. There are certain elements that are part of the logical claims, or the logical appeal, and it all has to make sense. The kind of statements that are made, they have to be justified somehow. You'd always see logical claims making, clearer statements about what they're offering to you. They'll talk about the mileage, for example. They'll talk about the processor, the kind of processor that a phone has, or the kind of camera that it is offering to you. So it will talk about things in a more clearer manner than in emotional appeal. And there are reasons which are juxtaposed with these claims that are provided. And you'll always see that they try to provide us with the evidence in terms of maybe a testimonial, maybe a celebrity endorsement, or maybe an expert giving a testimony about how effective the product is. There may be a slice of life from somebody's who's experienced this product, who's purchased it, like we see in case of infomercials, for example. Or there would be observations, or based on anecdotal evidence that people are able to provide you. There are certain qualifiers for those claims, and you can identify them as part of the advertisement. If there's competition, they will mention it, but then they'll say why they are better than their competitors. So all these ads, for example, Colgate offering to protect your mouth, completely, or the disinfectants that claim to get rid of germs, 99.9% germs, all the weasel claims which are there, or in case of water purifiers, they have to guarantee the best quality water. Otherwise, you'll not purchase them just because some celebrity tells you that I like this product. So you would need to be convinced about it by way of the rational argument. So there's this small little infomercial that we may watch.
You love fresh pineapple, but hate all the mess, and who wants can?
Aloha from the islands. Anthony Sullivan here for the pineapple twist. The fastest and easiest way to core, peel, and slice a pineapple. Here's the twist.
Just push in the blade and give it a twist and a turn. Then simply pull it out, remove the handle, and slide off the stack. Then with one simple cut, you've got
perfect slices every time.
Use the pineapple twist to make fresh salsa Hawaiian style, or add some flair to a mouth-watering baked ham. Let pineapple twist be the hit at your next barbecue, and carry the theme through a delicious dessert. The secret's the specially designed self-guiding coring blade that perfectly peels, cores, and spiral slices pineapples with ease. Use the pineapple twist to create fresh fruit salads. Add a tropical twist to grilled chicken, or to sweeten your fried rice.
With the pineapple twist, nothing goes to waste. And you can do even more with the core.
Make delicious tropical drinks or smoothies and serve them up resort style or create beautiful centerpieces for a party.
And when it comes to desserts,
The pineapple twist adds a little taste to the islands. It's great for cakes, pies, even flambe. And don't forget, pineapple's good for you. Make the foods you love tastier and healthier with pineapple twist.
call now and get the pineapple twist.
For the low price of just $10.
But spend $10 with me today, and I'll spend $10 right back with you.
We'll double the value. Just pay separate processing and handling.
That means you get 2 pineapple twists, a great value, all for just $10. So call or click now. Here's how to order.
So we are getting a product which is claiming so many things, and the features are being shared. At the same time, we see benefits in terms of the cost factor, because cost does play a significant role in buying decisions. So they're not just offering a low price, but they're also offering
Hi, Chef Tony
key
here.
products
Fresh
along with-
pancakes. I flip over them. But do they cause you to flip? What a mess. This is
So rational decision making could take place after watching these kind of products, and there was a direct response involved, because they will give you a toll-free number, or they'll give you details to purchase this particular product. So that is the direct action that comes into play here. And these are some of the other examples of rational appeal. Pure logic, and they'll give you all specifications, very detailed advertisement, and at times you might not even read them fully, but you would be kind of convinced that now that they're giving us so many details, so many intricate details, and offering to tell us so many things, probably they're not going to lie to us. So it kind of plays that way also. You decide, they give you a price of 2 particular products, and if you choose to buy the product which is offering you less quantity and higher price, then the onus lies on your wits only. So they leave this decision to your mind. And going back to the Aristotelian concept of ethos, this is an appeal that is used to establish a particular brand as a fair and proper and honest example, which knows about the area that they're talking about. They have some degree of expertise in this, and through moral appeal, there is an attempt to create a sense of moral superiority, which comes from the brand itself. That there's a moral authority on that particular issue, and it does assign value judgments to your action or inaction. Suppose in this particular example of advertisement, if you don't go and vote, your inaction is unethical. But if you go and vote, that's going to be ethical. So it will give you, a choice between right and wrong, what's correct, what should be done. And more often than not, it's about the larger good. It's generally about, social cause. It's maybe to do with public service ads, which use moral appeals in a big way. And you might also have prominent and renowned people who are roped in for making those appeals. And a brand or a communicator appears to be well informed about the issue. The confidence that they exude while telling you what is right and what's wrong is also commendable, seem to be quite sincere and honest. And the fact that you are offering to tell them what's right and what's wrong also helps them be convinced about the fact that you understand them. You understand how they feel about things or how they should be acting in a social setup. And it could be seen to be more humane and more considerate. And as I said already, the brands or the communication or the advertisements come across as morally upright. For example, if you look at polio ads, polio vaccination ads, so these have been going on for decades, and the success of this vaccination drive falls back on the campaign to a large extent. It has been going really well, and the people have been, they have positive perception about this particular campaign. Say no to plastic. You can't say yes to plastic after watching this ad. Authority. By way of acting in a film that was about menstrual health, Akshay Kumar sort of gave himself that authority over women's health, and then it became easier for brands or for these public service campaigns to rope him in so that he would talk about the similar issue more convincingly. Swachh Bharat campaign or other campaigns which are there, they also weigh your decisions based on right and wrong. And if you're able to understand that, if you're able to follow what they have asked you to, maybe in case of other examples like girl education, like open defecation, or things to do with female feticides, all of these will always give you a choice about what's right and what's wrong, and you cannot really go against what is the larger message in these ads, because there's a truism about these ads, about the kind of narrative that is presented is correct, that needs to be followed, because that's in consonance with the morality of the society. And at the same time, in all these three kind of appeals, you have the power of people, individuals, celebrities, or now more so of influencers. It has become really big. It has really become, huge in today's world. So these are some of the statistics that we can have, and some of the people who are, really prominent when it comes to ad appeals. And the experiences and the brand experiences that they bring along with them also determines the success of ad appeals that are used. Now, in the end, do these appeals work? They do, and but it's always to be seen as which is the most appropriate appeal that should be used in a campaign. And we have to remember that advertising appeals don't just deliver the message, they also provide the necessary justification to a consumer so that he or she will base his decision on those appeals and tell himself or herself as to why the purchase is being made. And the advertising appeal also make them feel good about themselves, the kind of decisions that they have, taken, whether that's to, side with a product, whether that's to like a particular celebrity who is being endorsed, or to finally go and purchase something after watching an ad or getting the brand communication. So all of these things will make them feel good about their own selves. I think I would stop here, and thank you so much, everyone. I really, really look forward to other lectures in the orientation program, and I would like to express my gratitude to PRSI once again. Thank you so much.